Vivaji, you can unmute and start now.
We can start.
Okay. Yes. So good evening. Namaste, all of you, dear brothers and sisters, and a very warm welcome to you on behalf of the Indian section for today's class on the Mahatma letters. So we will begin this session with our universal invocation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom.
Oh, hidden life, vibrant in every
O hidden light, shining in every creature.
Oh, hidden light, shining in every creature.
O hidden love, embracing all in oneness.
Oh, hidden love, embracing all in oneness.
May each who feels himself as one with thee
May each who feels himself as one with thee
know he is also one with every other.
know he is also one with every other. I can start, madam?
Yes, in a minute, sir. Just a minute.
Okay.
I would like to welcome you and also introduce you to our audience. So today we have with us Brother SHIVDAS ji from the Annapurni Lodge, Alipe, Kerala. Brother SHIVDAS ji will be taking the study on chronological letter number 82, which is Mahatma letter number 32 in the Barker series. Just a brief introduction about Brother SHIVDAS ji. He is a native of Alipe, Kerala, and he worked and retired as a forest officer. Brother SHIVDAS ji is a veteran theosophist who joined the Theosophical Society in 1982. And today we are privileged to listen to his words of wisdom. So I welcome him and invite him to begin today's study session. Brother SHIVDAS ji, please begin.
Welcome. Welcome and namaste to all the participants of this August meeting. This is the first time I am addressing a meeting of the Indian section online. I used to take classes in my parent lodge physically every week, and sometimes in other lodges when there is an invitation. And actually I wanted to participate in the Friday classes of Indian section, but my problem was that I had an online class with a group of group of enthusiasts from Cochin on Friday 6:30 p.m. and we used to conduct their classes every Friday. So on many occasions I could not attend the 6 p.m. classes of the Indian section, but I attended some of the classes when there was some due to some reason we cancelled those classes at Kochi. Today I was asked to speak or talk on letter number 38 in the Mahatma 32 in Mahatma letters, and I am thankful to the organizers of this meeting because they have given me a chance to speak on Mahatma letters. Of course, as you all know, you have all studied that the Mahatma letters is not an ordinary book. It contains a lot of occult teachings, occult wisdom, and there are many hints which we have to find out very studiously to understand what is there, what the great Mahatmas are talking about or communicating, because these letters, these communications between the Mahatmas and their European chelas or would-be chelas are the very divine beings who are instrumental in writing down the secret doctrine. So actually it contains a lot of wisdom, and we have to read it, then reread it, again reread it many times, then only we will get something out of it. And I am not saying that I got something out of it, but still, because I am interested with this duty of talking to you about what I gathered, I took it as a challenge to sit before you because our teachers from the very beginning told us or instructed us to learn and teach. That was the instruction given to us. You learn and teach, because that is a duty also. Because anybody who has learned something about the occult wisdom, they have the duty to teach those who are coming behind them. Maybe they have to share with all your co-disciples, and also those who are coming behind us. We have the duty to teach them, because we got it. We are traveling behind our great masters. So actually, in their love and compassion, they have given this wisdom to us to learn. So it is our duty, because if we want to be like them, or if we want to be co-workers of the Mahatmas, then we have to do the same thing. We also have to do the same thing. We have to share our knowledge, our whatever we gather. We have to share it with our co-disciples, as well as those who are coming behind us. So, and with that in mind, we have to strive hard to learn what is there in their words. And so I took it as a challenge to sit before you. I don't know how far I will be able to do it or do justice to the words of the Mahatmas. Anyhow, let us start with the letter. Actually, I don't have a slide to show you, but I will read the sentences. Then I will discuss with you what I know, what I understand from those words of the masters. When you look at the letter number 32, because I have the old book with me, I don't have the new one. That is why I'm not mentioning the chronological number. The letter number 32 starts with a very curious statement from the master. It says that actually this is addressed to Episinet, and actually the whole letter is about Mr. Hume and his peculiar characteristics, and also about his way of the whole characteristic is that of an arrogant person, and actually he is not at all fit to be a disciple of the Mahatmas. But still, why they kept him as a disciple, or actually why they tried to keep him as a disciple, is very, very curious. But actually they themselves, the master himself, have said that in one of the following sentences, why they tried to keep him as a they thought that he would change himself and become a chela. But this letter starts with this words. I quote: I am sorry for all that has happened, but it was to be expected. That is the first sentence. I am sorry for all that has happened, but it was to be expected. So when the master says that he is sorry about something, what does it mean? That means that he is feeling sad. He is sad about the whole thing. He is sad about the whole thing because it is said by the masters that they are always looking for people, eligible people who are developed into the category of disciples, so that they will have more workers, co-workers, when actually the humanity progresses in its evolutionary stage. They need more co-workers on different levels, not only in one level, but on all levels. They need co-workers. So that is why when somebody fails, they are sorry, because they are striving their best to bring up all of us. We are always under their guidance, and always under their guidance, and as well as under their observation. So whenever we fail, actually they are sad. That is what he says, that I am sorry for all that has happened, but it was to be expected. It was to be expected means even the masters also cannot break the occult rules. They cannot break the rules. So it was to be expected means Hume was the character of Hume was in, actually he was not ready to change it. He was always arrogant. He was always have this feeling of superiority, always having the feeling of his intellectual infallibility. So it was contrary to the very principles of theosophy, like universal brotherhood or unity of life, or the freedom of thought. So all those theosophical teachings, actually he was not ready to accept, and that is why he was not able to progress along the path. So anyhow, whoever fails, the master is sorry about that. That is what he says. And he only and another important aspect also comes out of this next sentence. Again, master says that, I quote, "If my confession has not altered your feelings, I am determined not to influence you, and therefore will not look your way to find out how the matter stands with you." That sentence again, it gives a hint about what the nature of the master as well as the nature of the path. It gives one hint, an important hint, says that I am determined not to influence you, and therefore will not look your way to find out how the matter stands with you. So again, we have read in many other occasions that nobody who is traveling on the path of occultism, who is traveling on the path of spirituality, nobody is permitted to dominate the opinion or the psychic atmosphere of another person who is coming behind him, who is like chelas or lay chelas or whoever it may be. So nobody, no master, including the masters, are not permitted to dominate, to change their opinion or to influence their opinion. So that is not permitted. And again, on some of the following lines, the master again says the same thing. So he says that I am determined not to influence you, and therefore will not look your way to find out how the matter stands with you. So that means Epicene is free to have his own opinion, free to have his own attitude, maybe towards Hume, or maybe towards the masters, or maybe towards the whole field of theosophy. But the master, of course, he is not ready to influence him. That what he says there in that sentence. Again, there is a very important hint, because that hint is because we are also not permitted to do that. We are also not permitted to do that, because what the master does, we are also supposed to do the same thing, because we cannot influence, we cannot dominate people who are standing behind us. Maybe of course we can mold them, we can tell them the truth. There is nothing, no harm in that, but we cannot say that they should follow us in each and every step, that so that they move like slaves. So that attitude cannot be followed by us. So what the master is doing, we are also supposed to do the same thing. But of course, we have with a good intention, with a good motive, with selflessness, we can try to help them, those who are coming behind us, or standing with us, or who are struggling to come forward. So that is the only way we can do these things. When they say that we have to learn and teach, teaching means you cannot dominate. You have to be very compassionate. You have to be very loving towards those who are coming behind us. Again, the master, same thing. He says that when there was a mentioning that Madame Blavatsky has written a very, very sharp and very rebuking letter to Mr. Hume, and also she wanted to write to Sinnett also about the whole conflict. So my master says that, I quote, "I prevented her sending to Hume a worse letter than she wrote to yourself." Exactly. That is now actually she wrote a letter to Hume, very, very sharp and rebuking letter, and she wanted to write a letter to Hume also. But master says that he prevented her to write such a letter to Mr. Hume. And again he says that I cannot force her to transmit his letters to me, nor mine to him. Again the same meaning. I cannot force her. I cannot force her to transmit his letters to me, nor mine to him. Again, that should be the relationship between the master and the disciple. Because that means if the master is interfering with the psychological atmosphere of the disciple, that means actually he is interfering with the karma. He is interfering with the karmic forces. So that means that no people who are advancing, or people who are moving in the front, they are not permitted to do that, to interfere with the karmic forces of those who are coming behind them. Of course, again we have to understand that they are not very cruel, they are not indifferent. That is not there. Of course, they are ready to help us, they are ready to guide us, they are ready to support us, but there is no domination. That is what he again says, that I cannot force her to transmit his letters to me, nor mine to him. Again, the master says the same thing once again. Next time I quote, since we have mixed ourselves with the outside world, since we have mixed ourselves with the outside world, we have no right to suppress the personal opinion of its individual members, nor eschew their criticism, however unfavorable to us. That is what the master says. Again, he says that since we have decided to mix up with the outside world, we have no freedom to suppress their personal opinion. There means the individual members or individuals of the public whom they are dealing with. So they have no right to suppress the personal opinion of the those individuals. That is why the master asked SPB to publish the letter written by Hume. So that because that if the master does not permit SPB, then again it is a suppression of the personal opinion or freedom of expression of Mr. Hume. So that is why the masters told SPB to publish that letter, and again he permitted to some of the chelas to publish their protest also against this letter by Mr. Hume. So that means that he says that they have to be just on both sides. They cannot influence the opinion of the individual members. So actually, for this first paragraph, actually we have got many hints on the occult nature of the relationship between the master and the disciple, and also the rules that is governing the path. Actually, when you look at the whole theosophical literature, the only topic that is actually they are dealing with is the path, about the path. All other topics we are studying, and we are discussing, everything is related to this single topic of the path. So how to tread the path, what are the characteristics we have to develop to tread the path, what are the hindrances on the way, what are the achievements, what are the capacities needed, how to progress, what should be our relationship with the outside world, what should be our relationship with the co-disciples. So all these things are related to the path. Even in the traditional religions also, especially Sanatana Dharma also, if you look at the teachings of the Sanatana Dharma, there also the yoga pantha again, the Ashtanga Yoga. The Ashtanga Yoga also deals with the same thing, how to tread the path. That is what they say. So there, the relationship between the master and the disciples actually mentioned in this particular paragraph, and also about the way how to deal with the path. Also, we have to follow many rules along the path, and some of the rules are given here as hints. The master again says in the next paragraph, actually again I quote, I gave you but hints of what at some other time I will write more at length. I gave you but hints of what at some other time I will write more at length. Again, there is one important point in that sentence. That means most of the time they give the teachings as hints. So that means hints means, of course, they won't elaborate it. They won't elaborate it immediately, or maybe they won't even elaborate it at all. But then we have to. It's our duty to find out we may not be able to find out the full depth of it, but still it is our duty to find out what that hint means, because as in the case of secret doctrine, this most of the hints which are given are meant to develop our intuitional power. Suppose if everything is given in detail, then there is no way to develop our intuitional or even higher intellectual powers also. So if hints are given, and when we meditate on those hints and we try to figure out what is there in that hint, then actually it increases our intuitional power. Also, it increases our intellectual power. Also, the power of the higher mind. Also, that is why they give it in hints. But when you neglect these hints, or when you don't pay much attention to these hints, of course, then actually we are the losers. We lose a lot of things which is meant to reveal through those hints. Of course, if you look at the our traditional books also, most of the important teachings are given in sutras. Sutras also, these four or one or two or three words are used to describe certain sutras. So those sutras are hints. We have to follow those hints through meditation. Then only we will be able to understand maybe a part of what is the hidden meaning of those hints, like sutras, like for example Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi is one such sutra. Aham Brahmasmi is one such sutra. Prajnanam Brahma is another sutra. So these are all statements or sutras which are given for us to meditate. Then only we will be able to understand what is hidden behind these sutras or hints. That is what the master says here also. I gave you but hints of what at some other time I will write more at length. But again, he says that he will write more at length, but in most of the other occasions, he may not do that. Again, there is another sentence. Again, another important aspect is dealt with in the one of the following sentences. I quote: "For my part, I will run willingly the hazard of being thought of a self-contradicting ignoramus and criticized in unmeasured terms by Mr. Hume in print, provided you really profit by the tuition and share from time to time your knowledge with the world." That contains also a very important, many important aspects of the occult life. I will tell you one thing. I will tell you one by one. For my part, I will run willingly the hazard of being thought a self-contradicting ignoramus. The master says using the word hazard. So what can it be? A master, and he says that for my part, I will run willingly the hazard of being thought a self-contradicting ignoramus and criticized in unmeasured terms by Mr. Hume in print. So what can be the hazard? What is the danger? Suppose if one of the chelas, if somebody criticizes the master, or if somebody calls him, or somebody ridicules the master, what is the harm in doing that for the master? He says that I am ready to take the hazard. I am ready to take the risk. What can it be? Probably, maybe from our analysis, what I find that it is because when the disciples fail, when the disciples fall down because of his the so-called arrogance, or maybe because of his many other failings, when they fall down or when they fail, actually that again hinders the progress of the master also, because there is a connection between the master and the disciple, and the master has willingly accepted somebody as a disciple, thinking that they will progress. But when they fail, due to various reasons, the master's progress is also hindered to a certain extent, because they know that, because they are also progressing, they are also evolving to the next stage of their next stage of their expansion of consciousness. So that will be hindered for some time, because when somebody fails, again, another aspect is that when somebody fails or when somebody ridicules the masters, the negative karma which is created to that particular individual, a particular individual, for example, in this case, Hume. So Hume gets a lot of negative karmic forces because he is doing all these things to the master, none other than the master, who is a divine being. So when he accrues that much of bad karma, a part of it comes to the master, because the master is responsible for establishing a communication with this particular individual, and actually the masters may not be knowing, but the master's presence, master's words and master's teachings provoked him. Because of his negative attitude, he was provoked by the master unknowingly, but still when the karma works out, actually, because there is a cause for this Hume's failure, there is actually this is not because of the because of the master who failed. Actually, Hume failed because of his peculiar characteristic. But when he ridicules the master, because the master's earlier sentences, he said that since we have decided to mix with the public, so actually it was their decision to mix with the public. So Hume is also a part of the public. So when Hume fails and when he has accrued all this negative karma, a part of it goes to the master also. So that again will hinder his progress. Maybe he is saying this using this word, I am, for my part, I will run willingly the hazard of being thought of us. This hazard is because of this hindering of their progress, their own progress. That is why most of the Mahatmas, they don't readily agree to mix up with the public. But he says, the master again say in that particular sentence, he says that I am ready to take up the risk, provided you really profit by the tuition. That means if you really profit by the words of Mr. Hume, then I am ready to take the risk. But only if you really profit by the words of Mr. Hume, and also if you are ready to share that wisdom you get from Mr. Hume with the world also, and share from time to time your knowledge with the world. And of course, whatever you get from the masters and also from such tuition, whatever you get, if it is good for the world, you have to share it with the world. That is what the master says. But then if that happens, if you are profited by the words, and if you are ready to share with the public whatever you gain from your communication with us, also with the your co-disciples, if you are ready to do that, of course, then I am ready to take the risk, because the masters always says that they always work for the common good of the entire life forces working on this planet. They don't have any personal preferences. They don't have any personal choices. Of course, they have their own choices, but still, they don't. That does not reflect in their activities when it comes to the common good of humanity. But that is there. But of course, that aspect is also mentioned here. Because if it is for the common good of humanity, or if it is for the common good of the whole life force which is working on this planet, of course, I am ready to take the risk. That is what he says. Then down the line, he says that again, another important, another point what he mentions is that this European, what he says that, but to give you my thoughts without disguise, I am never like to risk myself again with any other European but yourself. So that is what he says is that. But to give you my thoughts without disguise, I am never like to risk myself again with any other European but yourself. So what is this peculiarity about this European people? Why the master is reluctant to entertain any other European? Because these people, especially this European race, actually they were not at all. Actually, they were suppressed by the clergy for centuries. So they don't have any actually occult wisdom before them. On many generations, they were devoid of this occult wisdom. Actually, they were what was fed by the clergy. Actually, they were following that path, and because of that, actually, they always have a very limited view of what is spirituality, what is religion, what is a human being, how he is evolving. All these things are actually out of their realm of knowledge. So that is why the masters, it's very difficult to deal with them because of their this nature. And another thing is that maybe I think it is that aspect is also there, but that is again a part of the development of the human race. As we all know, this European community, they are the youngest of the fifth root race. They are the youngest because they belong to the fifth sub race. So because of that, actually they are the youngest, even though they claim that they are the most superior. Actually, when it comes to the development of human evolutionary stage, they are the youngest. So, and there, this fifth root race, fifth sub race, the main developmental aspect of that fifth sub race is that actually it gives more importance to individual dignity. It's the dignity of the individual is more important than any other aspect. So actually, when it comes to the dignity of the individual, that individual freedom, individual desires, individual opinions, actually it has got a very prominent place in their culture and in their thought. That is why they are so arrogant when it comes to when somebody says that actually even the idea of universal brotherhood was also not acceptable to them in the beginning. I don't know how it stands now, but still, of course, that has changed a lot. But it was not acceptable to them in the beginning because this individual is importance and individual significance, individual superiority. Always thinking about the right, not thinking about the duties. They are more inclined to think about their rights rather than about their duties. So this European, the whole at that time, the time when the Theosophical Society was about to begin, at that time, this attitude was prevalent in Europe. So that is why the master says that I don't want to risk myself again with any other European but yourself. Then he says that, again the master says that I quote, as you now see, connection with the outside world can bring but sorrow to those who so faithfully serve us and discredit to our brotherhood. So there he states very clearly why the master does not want to connect with the public world very frequently, or maybe because that is why that gives an answer about the future sentence, when why he does not want to take any risk with the Europeans. Connection with the outside world can bring but sorrow to those who so faithfully serve us and discredit to our brotherhood. So actually, when we look at the lives of our founders, as well as the senior members of our early members of our Theosophical Society, we know how the public world treated them. How actually they were put to all sorts of trouble. Actually, their life was miserable. In the case of SPB, it was really miserable. Actually, that is the reward we get if we try to mix up with the outside world, and also a discredit to our brotherhood also. Many people ridiculed. So many people ridicule even the holy masters also, even the whole brotherhood. Again, that karma which is created for that those individuals who ridicule them. Again, Madam Blodsky also says that I am responsible for all these sorry state of affairs, because actually I put the holy names of the holy masters before the public, and actually I revealed to them their nature and their work, etc. That is because of my action only. These actually all these negative forces are piling up before the holy master. So actually, Madam Blodsky was lamenting about her action towards her end. But again, the master also says the same thing. But maybe actually it's all part of the we cannot say that it is actually they did it without knowing the results also. The first sentence also they say that, and the first sentence you remember the first sentence, I am sorry for all that has happened, but it was to be expected. They were expecting this from the public, from the outside world. They were expecting these things because but their aim is not to limit their teachings to that particular time. Actually they know the past, the present, and the future. So actually the whole thing is meant to cover a large time span. So actually it was all expected, and there was that understanding is there in the case of the masters. Again, and in actually the whole thing is how the whole story is being narrated because the attitude of Mr. Hume. And actually we are also wondered why this man is given such an important position as far as the masters are concerned. Why Hume is so important? So that aspect also we were wondering why this man is here given such an importance. There is one clue is given in one of the sentences, because the master says, I quote, resolved not to lose so useful a tool. Resolved not to lose so useful a tool, the Chauhan permitted himself to be over-persuaded by us into giving sanction to my intercourse with Mr. Hume. That is what the master says there. Resolved not to lose so useful a tool. So master says that he is so useful a tool. So what is that use? In what way Hume is useful? Actually, we don't know. We don't know exactly what way Hume is useful to the masters. Maybe he may be useful in some other life. In some of the future lives, he may be very useful. Maybe because of his karmic force relations, he may be not useful in this particular life in which he is acting as Mr. Hume. But maybe in future he may be useful. But anyhow, that is not mentioned anywhere. But resolved not to lose so useful a tool, the Chauhan permitted himself to be over-persuaded. Chauhan means the master's master. So the Chauhan permitted himself to be over-persuaded by us into giving sanction to my intercourse with Mr. Hume. So actually, when we think of all these the future later activities, later events, we can just assume that he is so useful a tool. One incident we can point out why he is useful, because when the whole history, when you study the occult history of the whole world and occult history of the development of the human race, on many occasions the masters or the divine forces or the hierarchy is interfering on many occasions to mold the future history of the world. Here again, one event we can point out is that actually the masters knew that India's independence is going to happen very soon, because India's independence is going to happen very soon. India is was under subjugation for more than 800 years. So actually it was time for India to get its freedom. So masters want somebody to guide a movement so that the freedom of India can be gained by the middle of the next century. So somebody has to be there who is forceful, who has such a strong will, and who is also not from the not from India, but also from the European country. So they chose this man, this Hume, to be the head of the movement which started the International Congress to work for the freedom of India. So that movement gains strength, and actually it culminated in the freedom of India in 1947. So actually the masters were very eager to get India free, because in one of the places it is said that the occult wisdom which was prevalent in many of the previous civilizations throughout history, not the present history, but throughout the occult history, all the civilizations had this wisdom. But at present, the remnants of that wisdom, it remains only in India. So India has to get its freedom, and also this dharma, which is known as the Sanatana Dharma, it has to spread all over the world from India. Then only the world can emerge again into the next stage of our evolution. Because this knowledge, this wisdom is necessary. Maybe the master, actually the hint is that he is so useful because he has a very important role in formulating this movement, which in subsequent years it worked for the freedom of India. Again, that maybe, I don't know, maybe there is no other reference is made anywhere in this letter, or I don't know whether in some other letters any mention is there, but in this letter there is no other mentioning about what the use of Mr. Hume for the hierarchy. That is not mentioned anywhere here. Then another important point what the master says that actually that's not that for it's an interesting piece. What the master says is that and about Hume, and he used the terms in his letters, and he means Hume. He used the terms in his letters, the brutal grossness of which prevents me from repeating them, which have revolted my soul when I read them. Words so filthy as to pollute the very air that touched them, and that I hasten to send to you with the letter that contained it, so as not to have those pages in my house full of young and innocent chelas, that I would prevent from ever hearing such terms. That's a very strong word. Very strong words are used there by the master. They were describing the manner in which Hume has written that letter. But the important point is that what struck me very, very, very forcefully was that not about the words used by the master, not about the nature of Mr. Hume, but this particular piece of sentence. That means those pages in my house full of young and innocent chelas. That means that gives a very important hint there. Actually, the master's house is full of young and innocent chelas. That means throughout, even though we don't see those chelas working, actually their activities are not seen outside world. Actually, they are all being prepared in the master's house for future work. Maybe not only for future work, for the present work also. That means full of young and innocent chelas. That means they are not living in isolation. Those masters are not living in isolation. Actually, their house is full of young and innocent chelas. That means new recruits are coming there. Actually, Madam Blavatsky was one among them, and many other, maybe Damodar was also there. So many other chelas are there, staying with the masters, and actually they are getting prepared for the future work. Actually, our duty is also to get admitted to that stage, where we are also actually we are also get prepared to be co-workers of the Mahatmas. So if we want to be co-workers of the Mahatmas, then actually we have to work hard, very hard. The path is not very easy, very, very hard. So that that portion is also, that also gives a hint that actually that also gives a hope also, because we are actually, they are now even every time, every day they are recruiting. If somebody is willing, they are recruiting chelas into their household. That is an important position, an important point which is mentioned there. Then another sentence the master says that in one of in this particular letter, the Mr. Hume, he is telling that he tells that everything is false ideas and facts. That is there, but he also tells that in some of the sentences, the masters actually it's incomplete. So those incomplete sentences are contradictions. That is what he says. All incomplete sentences are contradictions, but actually not because of the incompleteness, but he says that these are all contradiction of ideas. So but the master says that, the next sentence the master says that, I quote, the novelty or inexplicable aspect of any asserted fact in our science is not a sufficient reason for setting it immediately down as a contradiction and proclaim, as Hume does in his article, that he could teach in 1 week that which he succeeded in drawing out of us in 18 months. That is it. If something is incomplete, doesn't mean that it's a contradiction. Incomplete because the masters are not permitted to reveal everything. They from the very beginning, they are telling the disciples, including a Synod also, they are saying that they cannot reveal everything. Everything they are not permitted to do that. Only what you can understand, we will reveal, or what the world can understand, we will reveal. Otherwise, we are not permitted to reveal everything. We will reveal only what we are permitted to reveal. So, and there may be some incompleteness also in most of the cases. Maybe suppose if we take the case of the root races and sub races and evolution of humanity, etc., etc., there are so many incomplete. When we look at it, it is incomplete. But what they say is that it is incomplete. Of course, we know that it is complete, but it cannot be revealed. But Hume says that it is a contradiction. So that is what he says. And another important aspect is that next in one of the next sentences, the master says that he, that is Mr. Hume, may be regarded as a sapient councillor in a municipality, but he could hardly be regarded in such a light by us. I mean, he may pose as a very knowledgeable councillor in a municipality, very knowledgeable, very wise, and very intelligent councillor in a municipality. He can pose, but we don't consider him in such a light. That is what the master says here. Again, there is another important aspect, is that when somebody gets arrogant, and when somebody gets a little bit of occult knowledge, they themselves, there in one of the letters, master also says, in one of the earlier letters, the master also says that everybody has a tendency to project himself as a perfect being. That is what the master says. You have again to AP Synod, he says that you have a tendency, when you get some knowledge, when you understand something about the occult nature of the world and about yourself, you have a tendency to project yourself as a perfect being. Then you started thinking that you are a perfect being. Whatever you say, whatever you do, whatever you think, everything is perfect. Again, master says that itself is it's a failure, because you are on the wrong path. Understand that you are on the wrong path. You cannot project yourself as a perfect being and start dictating and start teaching others, because you yourself think that you are a perfect being. That again is a dangerous state in which you may be falling without your knowledge. So in the case of Hume also, same thing happens. He thinks that he is perfect, and but the master says that we don't think so. We don't consider him as an intelligent, wise, and very knowledgeable person. That is what the master says. Again, towards the end of that particular letter, the master says that, I don't know whether I have time to stop. Is it time to stop?
Sir, the very little part of the letter is remaining, so you may continue for another 5 minutes, 5 or 7
Okay.
minutes.
No, I will finish this last part. I am coming to the last part because it is a short letter.
Yes.
So I am coming to the last part. And again, the master says that, and there is another important aspect is that the aspect of Mr. Hume is that he always thinks that everything, whatever he says, he does, or he thinks is for the betterment of the world. He always project it like that. He project it like that because he is doing everything. He he is even ridiculing the masters because he wanted to save the world. That is what his argument. He thinks it is. He thinks he is going to be a savior of the world. That is his problem. And again, the master says that, and only while the last sentence of the communication, only while the Western sciences make confusion still more confused, our science explains all the seeming discrepancies and reconciles the wildest theories. That is also again an important statement, of course. That is almost plain. What they say is almost plain. Only while the Western sciences make confusion still more confused, our science explains all the seeming discrepancies and reconciles the wildest theories. Those who are dealing with modern science, various branches of the modern science, they can understand these words more elaborately if they follow the spiritual teachings of occultism. They will understand that how the occult theories or occult teachings reconcile most of the discrepancies which you find in the scientific field. That, of course, that is very plain, because even now even the modern science is also coming. Those who are traveling along the path of truth, those scientists who are traveling along the path of truth, they are coming close to the teachings of occultism. The master also says in one of his letters, science is our greatest ally. Of course, science always is our greatest ally, because occult teachings are also the science of the science of life. It is a science of life, or it is a philosophy of life. It is a science of life. So those who follow the truth, they always come to the, ultimately they come to the field of the science of life. That is what theosophy also teaches. Here I conclude, and that letter is also concluded. Then I thank all my listeners for sitting with me and listen to this, what I understand from these words of the master. I explain to you. Yes. So I thank you all for your participation in this study class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, so much for your deep insight into this letter. And before we move on to discussion and any questions, I will request Sister Meenakshi ji to give us the translation in Hindi, and then we'll have a question answer session.
नमस्ते सभी को. थैंक यू सिस्टर. थैंक यू ब्रदर शिवदास जी. आज हम क्रोनोलॉजिकल लेटर नंबर 82 ले रहे हैं, जो कि मास्टर के एज एपी सीनेट को 1882 में लिखते हैं. मास्टर कहते हैं, जो कुछ भी हुआ उसके लिए मुझे खेद है, लेकिन यह अपेक्षित था. यदि मेरी कबूली ने आपकी भावनाओं को नहीं बदला, और यदि आप हमारी प्रणाली और कार्य पद्धति से पूर्णतः संतुष्ट नहीं है, तब मैं आपको प्रभावित न करने के लिए दृढ़ हूँ. आपको एचपीबी ने जो पत्र लिखा, उससे भी बदतर पत्र ह्यूम को भेजने से मैंने उन्हें थामा है. ह्यूम का पत्र मुझे और मेरा पत्र ह्यूम को भेजने के लिए मैं उन पर जबरदस्ती नहीं कर सकता हूँ. चूंकि हम भौतिक जगत से जुड़ गए, इसलिए हमें किसी भी मेंबर के व्यक्तिगत विचारों को दबाने का या उनके आलोचनाओं से दूर रहने का कोई अधिकार नहीं है, चाहे वह हमारे लिए कितना भी प्रतिकूल हानिकारक क्यों न हो. इसलिए HPB को मिस्टर ह्यूम का लेख प्रकाशित करने का आदेश दिया। जो मैं किसी और समय विस्तार से लिखूंगा, उसका संकेत मात्र मैंने आपको दिया है। अपनी ओर से मैं स्व विरोधाभासी, अज्ञानी और मिस्टर ह्यूम द्वारा अमाप शब्दों में आलोचना छापे जाने की जोखिम स्वेच्छा से उठाऊंगा, बशर्ते आपको हमारे द्वारा प्राप्त शिक्षण से सच में लाभ हो और आप समय समय पर अपने ज्ञान को दुनिया के साथ साझा करें। लेकिन अपने विचारों को बिना छिपाए कहता हूँ कि मैं आपके अलावा फिर किसी भी अन्य यूरोपीय के साथ स्वयं को कभी भी जोखिम में डालना पसंद नहीं करूंगा। जैसे कि अब आप देख रहे हैं, भौतिक जगत से हमारा संपर्क उन लोगों को दुख ला सकता है जो इतनी निष्ठा से हमारे लिए कार्य कर रहे हैं, और हमारे सिद्ध संघ को अपकीर्ति ला सकता है। ह्यूम जैसे इतने उपयोगी साधन को न खोने का निश्चय करते हुए हमारे द्वारा बहुत मनवाने के उपरांत चौहान ने हमें मिस्टर ह्यूम के साथ संलग्न होने की अनुमति दी है। ह्यूम ने और अपने पत्रों में ऐसे शब्दों का प्रयोग किया जिनकी निर्दयी अभद्रता मुझे उन्हें दोहराने से रोकती है, जिन्हें पढ़कर मेरे मन ने विद्रोह किया। वह शब्द इतने मलिन थे कि उन्हें छूने वाली हवा प्रदूषित हो जाती, और इसलिए मैंने उसे आपको भेजने की जल्दी की, ताकि मेरे निवास स्थान में वह पन्ने न रहे जो युवा और मासूम चेलाओं से भरा है, ताकि मैं ऐसे शब्दों को सुनने से उन्हें बचा सकूं। हमारे विज्ञान में किसी भी कथित तथ्य की नवीनता या गूढ़ पहलू को तुरंत एक विरोधाभास के रूप में स्थापित करने के लिए पर्याप्त कारण नहीं। ह्यूम को म्यूनिसिपैलिटी में एक अक्लमंद काउंसिलर के रूप में माना जा सकता है, लेकिन हमारे द्वारा उसे शायद ही इस तरह माना जा सकता है। पाश्चिमात्य विज्ञान उलझन को और अधिक उलझाता है। हमारा विज्ञान सभी भ्रम पैदा करने वाली या प्रतीत होने वाली विसंगतियों को सुलझाता है और सबसे अजीब सिद्धांतों का समाधान करता है। थैंक यू। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Meenakshi ji. The session is now open for discussion. If anybody would like to add a point or ask some question, you are welcome. Shinde sir would like to say something. Sir, namaste.
Namaste, namaste. I must congratulate for SHIVDAS. First time I have heard him. Very nicely he explained. Thank you, Brother SHIVDAS.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Really, you have explained very nicely and very deep insight that you have about this letter. In fact, this is very essential for all of us. Exactly because they were not allowed to read previously. All these Mahatma letters should be read by the serious members, those who are really having living faith Mahatma letters. And later on, any agent said, if you seek to approach Mahatmas, then they will reach to you. If you wish to catch them or catch their wish, he will help you or they will help you to catch it. And if you ask for help, they will give you help without any delay. That is what Anibajant said. This kind of attitude is necessary. And that attitude was not there in the Hume. And he was an intellectually highly developed soul. And therefore, he was actually ordering to the masters, why not you tell directly to the whole humanity? So in this, faith is the link between the master and the pupil. And here Hume failed. Of course, he resigned from the Theosophical Lodge in Simla. Then he also resigned from the Theosophical Society. But master said that was his karma. But he is definitely helpful for the whole humanity in a different kind of work. So they appreciated Hume's work. That is what they want to explain Senate. Because Senate has to take further this teaching to all humanity. And this letter is very important for us because the message for us is simply that every individual is given an opportunity. Every individual is given an opportunity to be service in the greater cause. And even those for whom we feel less than total affection may be valuable to the society's work. That is what in this letter they want to convey us. And SHIVDAS has explained very nicely, very silently. I am really pleased by your talk. Thank you very much, Vibhaji. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. This letter is very nice. Everybody should read, even if it is simple, but it gives much to us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shindeji. Any other question from anyone else? I think there are no more questions. This letter, yes, another very important point in this letter, that the master's house is always full of young and innocent chelas, and he does not even want them to hear such words which were used by Hume. You see, hearing, seeing, these are our five sense organs, and they need to be controlled. So even we should not hear such words which can influence, drag us lower to that level. So that is really important. Okay.
Yes, there is no ingratitude. There is no ingratitude in their world,
Yes.
which is present only in the humanity now.
Right. So thank you all very much. I think there is one question from Sharma ji from Ujjain, but it pertains to a later letter. So we'll come to that. It is letter number 85. So today we are completing this letter number 83. And then as we move on to the other letters, we will take up, I will remember this question. So thank you so much, Brother SHIVDAS ji. Yes.
ये मास्टर्स का जो फिजिकल वर्ल्ड से मिक्स होने का क्या मतलब है, समझे नहीं.
They have associated themselves with the outer world. See, because they are living secludedly in their own place, teaching their chelas, but they agreed to bring this Theosophical Society into being. For that, they had this interaction with Colonel Olcott and Madame Blavatsky. And they also agreed to give instructions to Hume and Sinnett based on their method of communication. So this interaction with the outer world, of course, it caused these consequences which we are now reading in the letters. So that was the thing, that they allowed themselves to come in contact with the outer world, and now the consequences were to be faced by all.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Most welcome. Anything else?
Yes, Vibhaji, I would like to add.
Yes, sir.
Two lessons emerge as we review these two letters, 81 and 82. The first concerns accepting the consequences of our actions. This is wonderful, they will definitely accept the consequences of their actions because they have entered into our world in this sense, which is what Mahatma had to do once they had opened the door to a knowledge of their existence. That is what they must accept because they disclose themselves as the living beings, perfected living beings. So they disclose themselves. That means they must accept consequences of their action. That is one thing. And the second pertains to how we manage controversy and opposition for them. So that is what, and the world has they declare that the world has right to explain its expressions. That is what Theosophical Society meant for, thought for the freedom of thought. They gave opportunity to express what we have understood. That is also this letter explains, I think. Shivdas, is it right? Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are right.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, it is our duty to proclaim.
Yeah,
We should proclaim it. Whatever, maybe in a smaller circle, but still we have to proclaim
yes,
it.
yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Shinde sir.
Thank you.
So with this, we bring the session to an end and we'll close the session with the closing prayer. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Sarvesham Swastirabhavatu Sarvesham Shantirabhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Lokaha Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhave. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. With these words, I thank you all for joining. Until next week, Namaste.
Namaste.